more about the sustainability. So he'll be sharing some different example that happened in Tzu Chi University, and with his experience in sustainability, he will share a little bit more about his experience in that. And after his sharing, we'll be having about 10 minutes of Q&A section. So if you have any questions, you can write down in the Zoom chat box, or you can unmute yourself after Professor Chiu sharing. So we'll be go online right now. Now let us welcome Professor Chiu for his sharing. Now, Professor Chiu, the floor is yours.
Okay, could you see my screen? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to see you here. And I'm Yie-Ru Chiu. Yeah. Today I'm going to share with you something about sustainable development, but not based on all the 17 goals. I would like to discuss something deeper. Let's think about what's sustainability, and let's think about something deeper. And what's the connection of myself with that sustainability, and how to put that sustainability into my personal life, my community, my workplace, and even create a new type of economy. So I'm teaching in Tzu Chi University as a professor in the General Education Center, and I'm also the director of SDG Challenge Center in TCU. And actually, I'm also a permaculture teacher. And have you heard about permaculture? Have you heard about permaculture? Permaculture is a type of a methodology to help you to design your life, your economy, your community, your farm in line with the natural system. So I've been teaching permaculture in Taiwan, in India, in mainland China. And what's inspired me to share with you is that it's something so practical. You could apply this kind of idea into your building and into your community and into your workplace. So that's why today I would like to share some idea about sustainability and also the case study of myself. I usually tell my students, I'm not a teacher to talk about only theory. I demonstrate what I teach in my personal life. And sometimes I invite my students to come to my house and come to my community and allowing them to learn something really practical. So the idea for building a more sustainable future is that we need to get everyone on board to build their house, they build their community, to build their sustainable working place. So in this way, we could have a collective sustainable in the future. So talking about the SDG, I think probably you have all known about this, but the problem is that all these goals seem so scattered. So now I'm not going to lead you into individual SDG, but rather we need to know what's the mechanism, what's the power, what's the energy behind all these goals. And let's feel that connection. And then we'll feel that tangible and doable energy within us. So what's this? Actually, this was just the photo sent by my friend. This is in Shanghai after 2 months of pandemic lockdown, and when people step back in the public area, one force is taken back. You see the grass coming back and a lot of vegetable are growing. Yeah, just on the stairs when people did not interfere the nature system, it's something coming back. And probably if we spread some vegetable seeds out there on the stairs, you might have some food collected. You might have a nice salad. Yeah, just in front of Apple company. So now let's look at this deeply. There's something behind, something invisible energy behind all this. If we did not use our human intellect control too much, you could see something there. And that force is something we really need to know that. We really need to feel it. And we really need to put it into our life. So here in this topic, I'd like to discuss with you about what is sustainability. And we are going to discuss about the mechanism and the major components. Let's learn something from that and let's reflect it within ourselves as well. Then we need to discuss how are we connected with sustainability and what we should learn from that sustainability and how we could apply that sustainability into our personal life, into our community development and our workplace. So here I'm going to share with you about how I build my house, how I manage my water, and how I deal with my compost and in my house. And in my community, I will share how we have our community garden, community kitchen, and how we change our community into a place for the elder person who could have a very happy life, and not only for elder person, but also for children as well. And also, I'm going to share with you about a new type, actually not new type of economy, but non-conventional economy system, which is cooperatives. So it's cooperative economy and allowing every individual become their own boss. So we form a consumer cooperative in our university to do something that yourself, individual, could not do, or government or the private sector will not do. But collectively, when people with a common understanding, they work together, they could form a new type of economy. So we got a consumer cooperative inside our university. We try to support the indigenous industry, indigenous farming, and we try to help the lower development community by by buying their product, and we work together to channelize the money flow to the less developed area in Taiwan. So we could do something, and I will share my experience with you here. Okay. Any question? If you got any question, you could raise your hand, and I will stop and discuss with you. Remember, I just showed a photo in Shanghai. Yeah, actually, there's one invisible force taking place in the past, present, and also in the future. That force is to turn things into productive and into a large, complex, complicated system and sustaining all beings. And this process in ecology called succession. Just think about the place where you are living. Probably million years ago, the place where you are living is just a rock, bare land. And for example, in Taiwan, million years ago, it's under the ocean, and by the crust movement, and it was pushing up and become an island. It's pretty much like the bare land in the very beginning. But the process starts. The process in the very beginning, there are some algae or some vegan in the very right on the surface, and by using that photosynthesis, the energy was taken down, and all these primary plants working together with some fungi, bacteria, and they start a mining process. Here, they mine the rocks and extract all these minerals from plant unavailable form into plant available form. So all these minerals was mined, digested, and go to the plants. And eventually, all the dead body of plants and bacteria, fungi become the organic material. So we saw the soil was built. And over time, when the soil becomes thicker and thicker, and you could see the grass could grow. And over hundreds of years, you could see the soil becomes thicker and thicker, and you could see the bush coming up. And over time, so you could see the photosynthesis, by the process of photosynthesis, this energy of sun got better utilized, and the water was absorbed, the rainwater was absorbed by this green sponge and brown sponge, and the water was better utilized. And at the same time, you could see the soil ecology, different kind of bacteria, fungi, and they work together with the plants, and they do the mining, they do the recycling, and over time you could see a climax community here. You've got different type of forest, and at the same meanwhile, you've got different insects, birds, mammals, different kind of animals out here. So this process is very essential. It's a expression of sustainability. So you could see in this process, we need to look at from some several aspects that I'm going to help you to explore from these aspects to see how Mother Nature, how God, or how the cosmic energy to manage a piece of land. So pretty much like, okay, we understand we messed up, we messed up, we got a lot of problem now. Now we should be humble, we should go back. Okay, teach me, Mother Nature, teach me how to manage a piece of land. And from here, we learn the knowledge, we learn the strategy, we learn the methodology, how Mother Nature manage a piece of land and using very little resources and sustain so many beings and in a more harmonious way. So that's what we need to learn. So there are totally 6 major aspects we need to look at. The first one is the solid factor. In the traditional Indian or Middle Asia philosophy, they think all this material universe is composed of 4 or sometimes 5 major elements or major factors. Sometimes we say 地水火风 or 地水火风空, or you could say it's a solid factor, liquid factor, fire factor, and vital energy. 地是风. Sometimes people say 风 means wind, but actually it's not wind. It's in Sanskrit, it's called value. Value, it's pretty much like qi. You know, in Chinese medicine, people has applied qi for thousands of years. And so this part is the component of material, or you may say environment part. Then outside of individual beings, we have a society, we have community, and based on that, we have economy. So these are the major factors we need to look at and how Mother Nature or how nature system develop. Okay, let's go one by one, okay? Yeah, I hope this could help us to look at, to really have a more intact understanding of sustainability. And we will be able to apply that back to our day-to-day life. Okay, that's about solid factor. What's the solid factor? Solid factor is things like minerals or particles that which is very essential for all beings. Inside our body, we need a lot of minerals, we need a lot of elements. We got all this from our food, and our food comes from plants, and all the plants come from soil, and soil comes from rock. So this is the way how we get the solid factor in our body. And so the process to turn rock into functional soil is so important. And that's the first fundamental factor to sustain all beings. So right in the very beginning, that all the minerals was locked in the rock, and it's not a plant available form. But by the process of succession, plants got the energy to feed the bacteria and fungi, and they do mining. So they turn the minerals from plant available, unavailable form into plant available form. And eventually it goes to the whole ecosystem. And that's why we could get the food. But here you could see the process of soil building become much more and more strong. And eventually we got thicker and thicker soil. But very unfortunately, nowadays, we are losing our soil. A lot of problem taking place. We have soil erosion problem, and people are taking food from thousands of miles away. And we did not recycle our waste back to soil where the food was grown. We build a linear system instead of the circular system. So we are having problems. But not only that, we are taking mineral, we are mining, we are getting a lot of resources, but without recycle. That's the big problem. So this is the aspect of solid. And now let's look at water. In the very beginning, when it rains, the water just flow away. There's no any storage. But after the management of Mother Nature, eventually you got the intact and a very large forest system. And on the upper side, you got a green sponge to store water, store rain. And underneath, you got a very thick soil. So when it rains, the water would be stored, would be held, and leaving very little water as a runoff. At the same time, all this stored water would be used by all beings, by bacteria, fungi, plants, animals, and it got evaporated into the air and eventually become the rain. And this cycle is called water cycle. So in the very beginning, there's a very poor water cycle. It rains and the water go away, and most of the time it was dry. But here, you got a very good water cycle there. What is the water cycle? You could just imagine when after God's management or Mother Nature's management, the flow of water become much stronger and the storage of water become much higher, pretty much like money. Chinese people like to refer water to money. Yeah, pretty much like you got good money in your bank account and you are earning good money and you are expanding good amount of money. So we say you are rich. So in this way, Mother Nature will make the whole system rich. The water is flowing in the from this system to that system in very good amount, at the same time sustaining all the being along the way. Yeah. And let's look at fire system. Fire, what is fire? Fire, the source of fire is from sun. In the very beginning, when the sun shines on the bare land, it only heats everything dry and hot. And when there's a sun, it's very hot. And when there's no sun, it's very cold. So there's a very big variation of temperature. So the microclimate is very unstable. But here, when you got a dense and large forest system. A lot of sun was the energy of sun was taken by the plants by photosynthesis process and creating an adequate and comfortable and moderated microclimate for all beings. So the Mother Nature would out of the management of Mother Nature, nature tends to create more stable and moderate climate. But just look at our human society. We are making our climate more and more unstable. And so actually we are not going in line with Mother Nature. Actually, we are going against it. And now let's look at the vital energy. The vital energy side, you could see in the very beginning, there's no much being could be sustained. But based on the soil, based on the water, based on the adequate energy and climate system, you got a lot of being could be growing. And so you got a nice and a biodiversity here. Sometimes you go to a place, you feel, wow, so much refreshed, so much energy out there. So that's chi. That's vital energy here. So the Mother Nature like to allow all beings to express themselves in a very nice way. So that you could see that tendency. And here you could also see that all the connections of beings become much, much higher than before. You got different variety of being out there and their connection. And a lot of time, before we think that the competition is the main force, the main driving force for the evolution. But nowadays, the scientists figure out that actually that's not competition, but cooperation is the major driving force for the evaluation process. So here you could see the plants, different kind of plants, they work together, and plants work with the different kind of microbe, bacteria, fungi, and they work together to form a intact ecosystem. So in the nature system, allow all beings to have highly connection and to form a stronger system. But nowadays, within our current economy system, people become more and more isolated. People, they're busy in their job, and when they go home, they no need to talk to anyone. They just do shopping online, and people become so disconnected. But in the nature system, everything are deeply connected. Then talk about economy. Is there economy in the nature system? Could you see any economy here? Economy refer to utilizing resources and distributing these resources by exchange, or in another term we call market. And actually, we could see a lot of economy out here. A lot of resources was utilized into and transformed into usable resources, or you may say product. And you could see the exchange between different species. They exchange the resources was exchanging and flowing among all beings, at the same time sustain all beings. So the process, the nature's economy, the purpose of nature's economy is to sustain all beings, all kind of beings. But unfortunately, our current economy system, we sustain less and less jobs and less people. For example, now the AI and robot technology is going to replace a lot of jobs, and so far we didn't find new opportunity for that replacement. So And our current economy was not sustaining people, but rather the money got concentrated instead of flowing among people and people. And that's the thing we really need to reflect. We are doing things really against nature system. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is to design our human life, our human social life, and our economic life, and go in line with this process. This is called sustainability. But when we go against it, then this destructivity. So now we need to know how to learn from the nature system, out from the 6 major aspects, and reflect and to try to change from our individual life, our community, and our workplace, and to form a new type of system. Okay, so this is the basic idea I'd like to share with you about the sustainability. So what we could learn from that? If you ask me, what's the purpose of sustainability? It's very difficult to say. The only thing I can say is that that's the expression of cosmic love. There's a love behind all these things, and the love is beyond description. But we could identify that love by certain characteristic is that it uses very little resources to sustain a vast, the huge amount and variety of all beings. Yeah, but nowadays we are using huge amount of resources, but we sustain very little amount of beings or human, either human being or plants or animal. So that's why we should think the other way, how to change our way of living, how our way of development to go in line with that system. So here, what are the major index for us to see we are doing better than before? So in the nature system, if we could have a more, in the nature system, the soil building process is taking place, allowing thicker and thicker soil to be developed. So wherever you stay, where you live, if you are able to create thicker functional soil, allowing and also allowing the mining or recycling locally taking place, then you are doing the right thing. You are following the how the nature, Mother Nature is building the soil, building the solid factor. And in terms of water, we just mentioned that out of the development in the Mother Nature, your water cycle would be strengthened, and you will see better rainfall, better stable rainfall, and very less flood, because rain will be stored, and you will have less flood, and you could be free from the threat of flood. So if you could utilize the rainwater and recycle your water, and by creating a better ecosystem to store the water and restore that water cycle, we are working with nature. Yeah. And nowadays we have water. I don't know, where did you get your water in your house? You just turn on the tap water, and probably the water is coming from hundreds of miles away by huge dam. That's what happened in Taiwan. But a lot of time people just neglect the rainwater on their top, and they just put their water in the sewage system, without knowing where does the water go. And in my case, I harvest my rainwater for the rooftop, from the rooftop, and I use it for flushing toilet, for watering my plants, and also I reclaim my gray water. In other words, after my taking shower, my food forest in my yard, my backyard was watered. Yeah, so in this way, I try to mimic the natural system and put into my life. Yeah, and about the fire factor, how could create a more moderate climate? Nowadays, people, whenever they enter the house, they turn on the aircon. But before that, could we use some design method like ventilation or shading or creating a more adequate microclimate so that we could reduce the energy using? So how we could put that kind of nature design system into our personal life. And about the biodiversity, about the vital energy, could we create the biodiversity, enhance the biodiversity? Could we create a deeper link connection among all creatures around us? And that's what we really need to think about. And then also community. Are you well connected with people around you? And are you really create that synergy to do something meaningful or something useful for sustainability, and which is beyond your personal capacity? So let's think about that. And I'm going to demonstrate you what I have done. And I'm sure we could you could have your own version to do something and even much better than what I have done. And in terms of economy, as I just mentioned, that in a nature system, the purpose of economy is to utilize the use the very limited resources to sustain all beings and creating that exchange and sustain all being. So here in a nature system, we really need to learn how Mother Nature use their resources and recycle those resources and creating a system that no one will be left behind. All beings will be taken care within the system. Nowadays, our economy system is somehow very centralized, where there are people left behind. So can we create a better or more a different system that sustain people who wasn't taken care? Here I'm going to show how the cooperative economy was working and how we do it. Okay, so basically we could try to regain our harmony in life. So there are soil, climate, vital energy, water, community, and economy. These factors we need to really look at. And what is behind this? That's harmony. How does harmony come from? That's from our heart. If we really have that deep respect and appreciation for that sustainability, for that cosmic love for that. So we, using a humble mindset, we try to learn from that cosmic love and try to put that into our day-to-day practice. And that's what I think about sustainability and what we could learn from sustainability. Okay, so in this way, we could create a more resilient community, resilient society. Nowadays, we've got a lot of threats around the world. We've got climate issue. We've got we've got resources. We are running out of resources. We've got earthquake, economic depression, all kinds of things happen. But if we could really build that harmonious and in line with the sustainability, then we could enhance our resilience to respond to all these kind of potential threats. Yeah, so, and that's the thing we really need to do at this moment. Okay, so that's the basic idea I'd like to share with you about the concept and idea of what I understand about sustainability. Any question? If not, then I'm going to share how I integrate or incorporate all this concept into my life. Okay, my personal life and my community life and my working area. Okay, so I was fortunate enough to design my house several years ago. So I am going to show you how I create that harmony, that sustainability into my house. Okay, so have you heard about a term called edible landscape or edible garden? A lot of time our landscape is just for nice looking, that's all. But we neglect the purpose of that piece of land. One of the duty of that piece of land is to sustain beings. So if we could turn the landscape into edible, then we are using that we are enjoying that grace of nature by locally as our food, and you could have very nice organic food, and even you could grow your food on your rooftop or your balcony or whatever. So try to grow maximum food within your area, so you could reduce your dependence on food from thousands miles away. So this is the way how I integrate landscaping with the food production. So most of the plants you see here are either edible or they got a herb value. Yeah. So this is the way we could create. Even my car parking area, I got the passion fruits on it. So whenever I come home, I get step out of my car, I could just pick up the sweet passion fruit. At the same time, it gives me shading for my car. Yeah, and also when I take food, I try to recycle it. All the food scratches or leftover, I digest it by using earthworm. Sorry, I use earthworm to break down my kitchen leftover. And I using this earthworm to turn all this kitchen leftover into organic fertilizer. And in return, I use this back to my food production system. Yeah. And also I harvest my rainwater. So whenever there's a rainfall, a lot of time people feel unhappy when it rains. But for me, I always feel very happy. God is giving me something for free. So when I flush toilet, I do not have any sense of guilt, because everything is from rain, and I'm no need to pay extra money for that. So that's why I really encourage everyone to build your rooftop rainwater harvest system and use it for flushing your toilet. Okay, so once we use the water, we need to discharge it. A lot of time we discharge it to the sewage system, which take a lot of energy to do it, and you cannot reclaim the water back. So what I did is that actually I rebuilt a forest system in my backyard, and all the wastewater from my house, gray water will go back to my food forest. That's the initial stage. And I use some kind of water tolerant plants along the discharging pipe. And by decentralize this kind of gray water, actually it's within the natural system to digest, to reclaim all this wastewater into resources. A lot of time people are saying that pollution. What is pollution? Pollution is displaced resources. If you put pollution in a proper way or in proper amount, it's a resources for the natural system. So I decentralized my wastewater, allowing the wastewater dripping down along the pipeline. and allowing the plants, the bacteria and fungi in the root system to digest it, to decompose it, and turn into nutrients to the plants alone. So I got a food forest in my backyard, and every day when I take shower, when I use water, actually I'm fertilizing it, I'm watering it. Yeah. So only thing you need to do is to harvest it. Yeah, very simple. You will find if you design well, if you work with Mother Nature will take care of you. Yeah. And when it comes to fire factor, so I try to minimize the use of air condition. I try to use the vertical ventilation and horizontal ventilation. I try to use, as I'm living in the tropical climate, we really need to learn how to cool down my my air. So I use the basements to cool down the air, and by controlling the gate in summertime and wintertime, and good shading is extremely important. So by applying all these methods in your own climate area, then you could design in a more less energy efficient environment. Okay, now I come to my community. Yeah, I'm really lucky enough to have a lot of good friends in my community. We got a community center there, and there are a lot of activity in this community. And moreover, one of the mission of our community is to take care the elder person in our community. Yeah, you know, in the aging issue is very a severe issue in Taiwan, particularly when we have less children, we have more elder person. So how to create a community to give all these aged person have a nice environment. So that's very important. So we create a community garden where allow the disabled elder person to grow vegetables. For them, it's not only a process of the production, but also process of healing, a process of regain their feeding with nature. So in the end, we design a garden to produce vegetables, and also we grow it in a very biodiversity way. We mix different kind of plants together, so we could reduce the threat of pests. So in this way, we could have organic vegetable growing around ourselves, and at the same time, we could grow it in a very beautiful way. You see, you could use all this your garden as a painting clothes, you know, and you could use different kind of colors, different kind of vegetable of different color, different shape to create like a beautiful garden, but everything is edible. Yeah, and allowing people on the wheelchair to use it. Yeah, and also we got a water system. We have our water system using the rooftop water, and also we recycle the waste. This is our composting leaf composting system. Before, city government people will take all these fallen leaves to the incineration, and actually we are wasting a lot of resources. And here by creating that kind of compost, we could reclaim all this material back to our garden. So we got our own fertilizer, and we create a kind of composting system allowing the elder person to decompose their food waste and using it as resources for food production. And not only food waste, but only dog poo. Do you have dog with you? How do you deal with your dog poo? A lot of people just put it in a plastic bag and throw in a garbage bin, or some people flush it into the toilet system. But actually in our garden, we try to turn this kind of process into kind of ceremony, kind of ceremony that it's a very beautiful thing to turn your dog poo into compost. And we use earthworm to do this job. And we teach how people to collect all this dog poo and in the bin of earthworm, and later we will use that earthworm case as the fertilizer for our fruit trees. Yeah, this is the way, and make it very nice. You could have different herbs around. Yeah, and also we create very interesting system, but due to the limitation of time, it's a part of permaculture design, but I will not discuss with you at this moment, but if you are interested about this, I will share with you. And so we use the rooftop rainwater for all this process. So without using the tap water or the groundwater. Yeah. And within our community, we also got a community kitchen. So in this kitchen, we divided elder person together with the volunteers into 5 groups. So each groups will cook food for the other 4 groups, so that the elder person got some job to do to serve others, to share their lifelong experience in cooking, and then no need to spend time watching TV in the house, which may make their body and mental situation worse and worse. So elder person got things to do, and they could use the food from this garden. And also the wastewater from the kitchen was reclaimed by this garden. You see, all the waste, when we got wastewater from kitchen, right? And usually we discharge it to sewage system. But here, by a very simple separation from oil and water, then the leftover water will go into the bottom of the vegetables. You see, you got beautiful vegetables. So here we learn something, that actually we could reclaim, we could build the nature's the cycle system just within your community, and creating a very productive and energizing system for everyone. Yeah. So actually all the there's a pipeline here, and all the wastewater drip out from 2 sides, and the root system of the vegetables will come down to take the water, and meanwhile the bacteria and fungi will break down all these so-called pollutants. Okay, and we got the hortitherapy classes for this elder person in our community, and they have different kind of activity. Of course, Tzu Chi University students from Tzu Chi University also involved in the activity of this community. Yeah, so you see the social connection between people across the age, across the gender, they work together to create a more comfortable, more helping community in your area. And I think I also learned a lot from this process of community building. Yeah. Okay. Now, the final 10 minutes, I'm going to explain about what we have done to create a new economy system, which is based on cooperative. Have you heard about cooperative? There's a company, and there's cooperative. Unlike cooperative is very much similar to a company. They could do a lot of business. They could sell things, they could produce things, they could build things, and even they could have insurance, all these things. But the difference is that a company is owned by both, and job was done by workers or employees. But as for a cooperative, everyone shared the whole, and everyone got say in their major decision making, and everyone is the boss. Laborers are boss, and the boss are also laborers. Actually, they are one. It's a people say that it's a kind of economic democracy system. Okay, so and UN also think that cooperative system is a very important mean to solve the economic crisis around the world, particularly in the less developed country. UN support a lot of cooperative projects to help the poor farmers or poor fishermen to form their cooperative and form their company, form their factory, this, that. So this is a very important means to help people, especially for economic backward people. Okay, so I'm going to share the experience in Tzu Chi University by adopting the idea of SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. We form a consumer cooperative. The main idea is that we try to be a responsible consumer, and collectively we form a consumer cooperative to support the responsible producer, especially producer in indigenous community or in the less developed area, so that we could help these people economically by our conscious consumption. And also we could do less plastic consumption. We could do a lot of recycle within ourselves, and we could do something very interesting I'm going to share with you. So the idea is to unite the small individuals and to form a bigger momentum of bigger power, which could have function to deal with the problem that individual could not deal. So I think this picture are telling a lot of things. You could recognize it. Okay, so this is our logo by using based on the SDG 12. Actually, among all these SDG, SDG 12 is the SDG, the most useful SDG for everyone to have their saying, to do something with it. So that's why there's a saying saying that you are what you buy. If you buy things based on the love for other being, or based on the with the consciousness of sustainability, then you could do something very differently. So we got the we try to buy local, so we could reduce the food mileage, and we try to support the indigenous farmers and to support local tourism, and we try to support the eco-friendly or non-toxic food production system. So we also reduce plastic use, recycle and reuse, and we also support the product from the intact forest. We do need forest, as forest is the base for biodiversity, as the base for the moderate climate. Forest is such essential thing for everyone. But there are people living in the forest. There are people who they have generations and generations living in the forest, and these people need to be sustained based on the livelihood together with the forest. So that's why we are supporting the byproduct of intact forest, so that people there got sustained, and in return they sustain the forest for you. Yeah, and also we support a vegetarian diet, and so in this way we could minimize our impact to the whole environment. So this is our consumer cooperative in Tzu Chi University. You're welcome to visit us, and I would be happy to have a guide lead you to visit different products. And our logo, our motto is that 亲近在源头，用合作消费改善世界。We could change the world by our consuming power. If we change our consuming power collectively, we could change the world. So it's very simple but very meaningful. So you will not be, people will not feel I'm alone. Wow, what I could do for that sustainability. Actually, you could do something. And even more simple thing is to buy food, buy your stuff consciously. Okay. So we try to use local products, and we support the local young farmers, and we use the recycled bottle to pack our rice, and we support the local soybean organic farmers and local producers, and we also use this recycled butter so that we no need to waste the plastic bottle out there. Yeah, and we support the organic farmers. They need to be sustained to use a sustainable agriculture. So for the sustainable agriculture, we need to have a sustainable consumer. Yeah, as we are working closely with the local farmers, so we could discuss collectively how we could have more responsible and sustainable consumption pattern. So we try to minimize the use of plastic. We use the recycled bags. A lot of people do not know how to deal with their used plastic bag. They could just bring it to our consumer cooperative. So they could buy vegetables without using that plastic package. And also just 2 weeks ago, we have that stating machine stating that washing machine detergent, but you need to bring your bottle there. You must use your recycled bottle and you just buy it. So in this way, we could calculate how much plastic has been saved out of our process. And we also support the indigenous people to go grow this kind of fern under the canopy of forest. So so they have their own ice cream. So we are stating that, and we are also teaching people to buy this kind of product. And so we also have a small farmers market, and by bring the local producer, have close connect with our consumer. Okay, and we even have a shoes repair workshop. So every Wednesday, people could bring their broken shoes to our consumer cooperative. There are some people to come and take it back, and next week you come with good shoes, a pair of good shoes. You don't need to throw away your shoes and buy the new one. You could just repair it, and that's what we are promoting. And we also bring students to indigenous community, and we help the indigenous elder person to raise their chickens, and we buy their, and this is a very important healing process for this elder person, and we sell their products so that these indigenous people, they could have a regular income, self-sufficient income. So in the end, I would like to say that what is sustainability? Sustainability is within you, within me, and within our society. It was in the past, present, and future. It's an expression of cosmic law. And all we need to do is to feel it and try to implement the law into our life to build a more sustainable society. Okay, thank you. That's all what I'd like to share with you. Hope you could have some inspiration or some idea out of this talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chiu, for your members sharing. Most of us, when we heard about sustainability, we'll mostly think about sustainable development goal or the much more macro scale of sustainability. Today, we have Professor Chiu sharing with us about the sustainability that can link back to our daily life. So from the first part, Professor Chiu has mentioned about the sustainability based on the mother nature. So most of us might think about the sustainability based on human mankind from our perspective. But from Professor Chiu, he has mentioned about the sustainability from the mother nature's perspective and how human can interact nicely, sustainable with the mother nature. So thank you, Professor Chiu, for your sharing. And now is our 10 minutes Q&A section. Anyone want to raise any questions or you want to have feedback, reflections to Professor Chiu? So who want to be the first one? So for the viewer that joined our live streaming in YouTube, you are welcome to leave comments and we'll bring your questions back to Professor Chiu. Okay, anyone want to be the first one?
Hi, Professor Chiu. Can I go first? It's Alan here.
Okay, good.
Hi, yeah, thanks for your sharing. Professor Chiu is very informative. And a lot of the things you mentioned to live a sustainable life, a lot of them can be done maybe if you're living in let's say a house with your own garden. But for someone who's living in an apartment or in a city, what would you recommend them to do as a first small step? What can they improve on their daily lives? Because not everyone have access to, let's say, a garden or rainwater collection system. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you for your question. It's true, really, not everybody could have a garden or have a rooftop area. So, and a lot of people living in big city, but probably you could have a window, right? And you could have balcony, right? So, and there's another term called urban permaculture. Urban permaculture means that to integrate that kind of idea into the urban life. So you could grow your food, your vegetables in a pot. Actually, we are teaching people how to grow vegetable in a bag, and also together with earthworm to compost your kitchen leftover, and meanwhile you could grow your vegetable as long as you got a place where there's sunshine. Yeah. So even you do not have all these means, you say I'm the student, I'm renting a house out nearby my university. What could I do? But at least you could be a good consumer, and you could work with other consumers to create something new system. Yeah. So actually, that's why I said that it's kind of multi-layer. It's kind of pattern, and you just choose the proper position of your spectrum and try to do these things. And there are a lot of people in Taipei. When I was living in Taipei, I turned my rooftop into a garden, and I got harvest rainwater. I got a composting system. I grow my vegetables, and using that place, I allow my children to play and my neighbors to interact out there. So, and if you do not have that area, you could find some public area. In case in my community, a lot of people do not have access to their own garden, but there's a public vacant lot. So actually, in our community, in our case, we turn that vacant lot into garden. And over time, the city government saw it. They say, okay, you are doing a good job. You're helping us to get rid of all this garbage. Then they allow us to use it with contract. So actually, this is what we could do. Yeah.
Thank you, Alan, for asking the questions. And thank you, Professor Chiu, for the answer. Is there anyone want to ask any questions or feedback? Guys, you can just unmute or leave a message in the chat box.
Yeah, Lydia just shared that she grow the tomatoes with the pot and have a good harvest. That's a very good thing. If everybody do this, we could reduce a lot of dependence on imported food, especially in places like Singapore, Hong Kong. Yeah, people try to grow their food. They could do a lot of things, and they could create a lot of fun in their life. Yes,
Right.
David?
From your speech, I get the idea like the sustainability is now more like localization rather than globalization. So, but globalization cut the price down. So if the cost goes up if we do like more, does the current situation, does being sustainability cost more on daily living or anything like that? And if it does, what can we do to cut the cost down? So like also, meanwhile, as we globalization, we can also do the sustainability rather than just focus on local community.
Okay, thank you. It's a very, very good question. And why the globalization is so well popular is because the cost was reduced. It seems that people could buy things in a very cheap way, but people did not see the shadow side of this process. Actually, that's not cheap at all. Actually, people got less job, people got less pay, and rainforest and less developed area got overexploited under the name of cost down. And so unfairness taking place out there due to only because the cost is lower. So the problem there, cost and the value was not equal in the market. Sometimes we think it's very cheap, but actually it's not cheap at all. If you take the human rights, environment, and or the economic disparity into account, then you will understand that's not cheap at all. So, but on the other hand, that's also really what we are learning in our consumer cooperative. We try to support the indigenous producers. Of course, their cost would be higher than those imported materials, but we try to reduce the price by bridge the link between or reduce the distance between the producer and consumer. So in this way, still we could somehow reduce the cost in the supply chain, and also in another way that we could reduce the waste. A lot of time we create huge amount of waste because the producer do not know exactly what the demand from the consumer. Everything throw up in the big market. So a lot of waste were created, but we could do the production planning and consumer planning when producer and consumer got closer in a local economy system. So we are also learning this process to reduce so-called cost, but actually we are doing something to enhance the value instead of reduce the cost. Yeah. Thank you. Really, really a very good question, and also it's also a challenge for the local economic educator. But I think we need to have more people got aware about what's real cost and take proper action so that we could create a better sustainable economy system.
Thank you, Professor Chiu, for your explanations and the answer. This reminds me of last year, International Youth Day. They have the theme for the Youth Day on transforming food system, youth innovations for human and planetary health. This topic is actually mentioning about the localizations of the food system and the low carbon footprints, food, and also some others topics regarding on sustainability. So this is actually a very hot topic that many people is actually trying to learn more about that. And we are lucky enough to have Professor Chiu to share with us his own experience, not just concept, and also his own experience and also results based on his hard work. Thank you so much. Now,